Scenario number one. This scenario, most of you guys had an opportunity to witness this fight, and it was one of the most epic fights, one of the top 2 to 3 fights in boxing history. I remember this because I watched live and I was just, my jaw was on the ground when I saw this fight. The scenario that this fight took on was intestinal fortitude, and that's the category that this fight falls up under. What you have inside. Many of you already know what I'm about to say and who I'm about to name. But this fight was the epitome of intestinal fortitude. Diego Corrales Castillo won. Was the scenario and the identity. If you look up intestinal fortitude, that fight showed each and every nook and cranny of what intestinal fortitude is. You get dropped so hard after being ahead on the scorecards, not knowing and not seeing what was going down, what was about to transpire in the eyes and in the soul of Diego Corrales in that mighty 9th round and the beginning of that 10th round. Diego Corrales had been in a fight, and Castillo had a plan to break him down over the period of time that this fight took place. And over the 9 rounds, it was just venomous. There's not a lot of fights that you can say were that highly skilled and offensive. These boys brought an offensive arsenal to a fight. Needless to say, it was nothing less than carnage. And later in the fight, the 9th round, Diego Corrales was ahead on the scorecards, putting combinations together, but Castillo was right there with him, bringing nothing but great counterpunch skills, toe-to-toe battle, high offensive onslaughts by both fighters. So what you need to do is type it in if you haven't seen this fight. And I hate to be the spoiler for you, but it was a great fight and it's something that you should see. Hear it here from me, but at the same time, go dig into your YouTube archives, find Castillo Corrales won. Trust and believe. The fight, there were approximately 5,000 people in attendance. Of course, no one knew that this fight was going to be that guy. But at the end of the day, you see these guys go battle. And I mean battle. I mean, defense was both of these guys' offense. And late in the fight, Castillo drops Corrales. Nearly spins him around. Corrales' eye is shut, swollen. I mean, just loaded with like a hematoma in his eye. And the eye socket is broken, the orbital bone, the cheekbone, all are fractured. Diego Corrales was knocked down, and basically, visually, he looked knocked out. And the bell rings, and then they come out for the 10th, and just Castillo comes out and nails him with a left hook, drops him in a major way. And he gets up, spits his mouthpiece out. I'm leaving a little bit of the story out, but, bear with me. I got to break down other fights. Spits his mouthpiece out. The referee goes, gets the mouthpiece, gives it to Coach Goosen. As Goosen is rinsing off, he's telling him, you got to get inside now. And you're not supposed to say anything when you're rinsing the mouthpiece off. You're not supposed to give fighter instruction. But of course, that goes out the window when your fighter's about to lose after training so hard and so long for this fighter. Diego has to make his mind up right then and there. Am I willing to die? That's what great champions are made of. And that's from the post yesterday that I dropped so nice. That it's about finding that other gear, that intestinal fortitude, and deciding, am I willing to die? So needless to say, those boys go toe-to-toe. They clash like the Titans, and they go toe-to-toe. The most heated battle I've ever seen live, like I said, between skilled fighters outside of, very few. I won't bring them up now because I may be speaking to them later. To cut a long story short, Diego Corrales was on the ropes getting hit by shots and countering. And then he caught Castillo, hurt him, and then just turned it on and jumped on him. Screw the exhaustion, screw almost dying. I'm going to win this fight no matter what the cost may be. And he pushes him against the ropes and bam, bam, puts the combination on him. And the referee steps in, Tony Weeks, and the fight's over. Diego Corrales overcomes death and defeat to become the victor. And that's the scenario that we wish would be the Mayweather-Pacquiao. But will this fight mimic that fight? Next scenario, I won't be so long-winded on this, was Marquez and Vasquez, which is Marquez's brother, which is sharp, skilled, highly skilled, and Vasquez. These boys fought, like 4 times. Each fight was epic. The fight, the identity of that fight was back and forth KOs. You know, Vasquez gets stopped in the 7th, and the next time Marquez gets stopped, and the next time back and forth. That is absolute carnage. Fights like that, you can't even make a movie with that kind of entertainment and excitement in it. The fact that one guy would get knocked out, and we all know that once a guy knocks you out, chances are he's going to knock you out faster the next time. Nevertheless, neither one of these guys evidently read that book, because they were just not buying it. And they would just go back and forth with victories by KO. Who does that? That's the era that we've had the privilege to live in. That's a scenario I'd sign up for this Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. Trust and believe these things could possibly happen. Now, the next scenario. Scenario number 3. The shoot your wad battle. When I say shoot your wad, homie, I don't mean what you guys are thinking. I'm talking about in boxing terms. You throwing it all out the window. The camp, the drama in your life, everything has been thrown in the ring. And you have made your mind up. And you're committed to a battle at any cost. And you guys already know what that fight is. Hagler Hearns. The most epic super fight in boxing history. And that fight is the shoot your wad fight. They came out and they shot their wads in 3 rounds. It was the highest punch volume fight in the first round in the championship history. And needless to say, they both shot their wads and left it all in the ring. It was nothing left. 3 rounds, 8 minutes. There's nothing left. It couldn't have been a 4th round. There was no 4th round going to happen. I'm surprised they made it to 2. So, needless to say, that's the shoot your wad battle. Will Mayweather-Pacquiao mimic this fight? Think about it. I'll sign up for that one. Imagine, Manny comes out, throws a barrage of punches. Floyd ducks, dodges, and throws back from the body to the head like Sugar Ray Robinson. Gene Tunney throws left, rights. Think about that happening, boy. I paid $200 to see that fight on television. Shoot your wad battle goes to those boys, Hagler Hearns. Now, then big fights. The next scenario was the early KO. And we all know whose name is defined by early KO. In super fights, Tyson was just, I don't think he understood what super fight mean. That mean we paid a lot to see you fight. We didn't pay a lot to see the guy go through the ring before we even got back from the refrigerator getting a cold brewski. But Mike Tyson was void of caring about that, because when his mind was made up, his mind was made up. When he was in the locker room, said from the mouth of Butch Lewis, that he was in the locker room punching concrete walls before he had his gloves on. So, needless to say, Michael Spinks's chest was going to be in trouble that night. Needless to say, he was out in 90 seconds. The time that it takes you to twist a beer top off and turn it up and look back down, and the fight is over. And he's already in the front row kissing Robin Givens. These fights were epic. Will this fight, Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, mimic this fight? Probably not, but it would be great, and I'd sign up for it. I wouldn't really care to be in line first for that fight, not at that level, because we put so much onus on this fight. You definitely want it to draw itself and play itself out. The upset, one of the biggest upsets in boxing history, because before this guy was known well, all he did was raise hell, and you know who I'm talking about already. So needless to say, some of you may be very young and you don't remember this other fighter, but you definitely know the fighter that I'm about to speak of, and his name is Cassius Clay. And he upset the Bear, Sonny Liston. No one thought that Muhammad Ali would make it outside of the first round, let alone stop the Bear with the brash talk and the high elevation of temper, going into levels of bravado with this guy. I mean, this guy, Muhammad Ali, drove a bus across the country full of people at 2 a.m., pulled onto Sonny Liston's driveway on his lawn, and started screaming out in his front yard while his family was asleep. 2 a.m. Who does that? So needless to say, you got to back that up. And it ain't bragging if you can back it up. And Ali definitely backed it up. So that fight right there was the upset of the century. Outside of, then you got those who could debate that with Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas. But Mike Tyson was his own enemy by that time. And Mike Tyson beat Mike Tyson. The zaniest fight in boxing history. And if you all watch boxing and you have done your boxing homework and you are at least a boxing aficionado or true fan, not a casual, well, even the casuals, if you're old enough, should know about this fight. The zaniest fight in boxing history goes down. I give the check to the fan man, Holyfield Riddick Bowe. The second version of that fight comes out of nowhere. A fan man jumping from a plane. This guy was absolutely insane and absolutely bananas. And he got his butt absolutely whipped as he landed on the turnbuckle of the freaking fight. During the fight in the 7th round, the fight was stopped for like 20 minutes. The guys got cold. They had to get things going, get this guy. He was arrested. You know, it's just not, too many things like that are just not going to happen over a period of time. That was just absolutely asinine for that guy to even think of doing something like that. But he is in American history, at least in a sports venue. And, you know, at the same time, that's kind of reaching for bananas to go that far to be noted in history. Write a journal, write a book, do a biography or something, getting on another way. That was absolutely crazy. And that's why that gets the Zany Award. Now, we're going to go to one of the biggest robberies in the boxing era. Controversial fights have happened over a period of time. Some are so big and because they've drawn such a spotlight, and you got guys like the Meldrick Taylor Chavez fight, one of the biggest robberies when it comes to controversy. It was controversial. Richard Steele stops the fight with 2 seconds left. But in his defense, he didn't know it was 2 seconds left. He heard the 10-second warning timer. But Meldrick Taylor was mangled. You know, at that moment, everyone was upset, but if you look at it over time, the guy looked dead on his feet. One more punch could have killed him. But one of the biggest, like I said, that goes down as the most controversial stoppages, only because of the mass hysteria that it caused when it happened. But when you look back at it, you know, there was a call for duty. And you don't want a body on your hands if you were a referee. If you could have stopped it, you know, you stopped the fight. Whether stop it one punch too soon than one punch too late. So that automatically gets it. And when it comes down to it, Holyfield's in a couple of these because he also was in a controversial decision with Lennox Lewis and Holyfield won, where Lennox Lewis clearly beat Holyfield up throughout that entire fight. To only walk away with a draw, and that was boxing robbery. The second fight, Holyfield really won. They gave it to Lennox Lewis. That's what you call everything coming back full circle. So, what you give and what you get. So those two fights go up under robbery and controversy. And it was definitely controversial. All right, now we're going to go into fights that were stopped due to damage. Do you want to see Mayweather-Pacquiao fight get to the point where it's so bloody, brutally knots and cuts? That's stop. Because the guys who have that right now are Shane Mosley and Vargas. Vargas had a knot over his freaking eye. He couldn't even see anything. It was welded shut. It was like when Mitch Green was hit by Mike Tyson. But Tyson didn't have gloves on. Shane Mosley did. And they had to stop that fight. The second fight was Holyfield-Rockman. The super knot. So damage due to injury. That fight. Will Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao mimic that fight? I don't know. It's a lot of blood and gore and knots and swellage and inflammation going on there. That's going to take some serious punching or headbutts. And of course, Lennox Lewis, Klitschko. Vitaly, the big brother. When Lennox jabs him and rips his eye, he had to get 61 stitches in his eye. It was horrid. You could see it. It looked like a fish mouth when he ripped it wide open. But Vitaly still wanted to fight. His mouth was split wide open from the inside out. So, you know, fights stopped by damage and accumulative damage. These three fights definitely reign supreme. You could probably think of other ones, but you'll have to really think of them. But these are definitely significant. They were horrid to look at. All three of them. And the ultimate war. The Ultimate Warrior. And you guys all know who that was. The epic trilogy. Will Mayweather and Pacquiao mimic Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward? 1, 2, or 3. I'm in line for it, and I'm first. People, I don't know if you guys have been watching and following social media on a regular basis, but there comes a time when a fighter holds on to something for a certain reason, because the reason for him to let it go wasn't valid. Well, how I'm going to approach this next and last topic is that I think right now, and I truly believe that Floyd Mayweather used to love that O. But the magnitude of this event, people, listen to me, truly do not stop it. The magnitude of this event has surpassed anything any of us have lived to watch and ever experienced, because there has not been this much involvement in social media with any fight. The Canelo fight, the De La Hoya fight, social media wasn't even relevant when Floyd fought De La Hoya, so those were the record-breaking numbers. Then we broke it again with Canelo Alvarez and Floyd Mayweather. But that is nothing Absolutely nothing. This thing is surpassing and tipping points in venues and arenas that have nothing to do with sports, let alone the casual fan, the mainstream audience, the insurgents of ABC, NBC, CBS, all of these channels and ESPN all coming to the forefront to embrace and have boxing a part of their menu, a part of their entree. And that's where we are right now. As I watch Floyd and Manny train, I don't think it's about just the victory now. I think these boys have been put in a position internally, because they both are great, that I think right now, without further ado, that these guys are all both fighting and training to put on the fight of their lives. Win, lose, or draw, nobody loses this fight because of the epic proportions that this fight and the tidal waves, the tsunami that it's brought to the forefront for all of the mainstream American audience, the UK, China, everywhere on this globe will have some kind of connection to Pacquiao Mayweather. And Mayweather Pacquiao will be one of these scenarios. But the question is, which one of these scenarios will this fight mimic? You tell me. Leave it in the comment box. Which fight that I just named will this fight mimic? Do you truly believe that Floyd has realized that this fight is bigger than an O? Because the methods that I've seen him train and Pacquiao is bigger than the O. And I think these boys understand the level of boxing history they are about to partake in. No one in this era has experienced anything like this. This is the first time. And we are first in line. They call me the Fight Doctor. And I thank you guys for watching. Because you're watching Master Boxing. And this is where we break the fight world down, baby. Round by round. Peace. Be sure to share the video. Bring all your friends. Bring your groups. Bring your posse. Bring your co-workers involved in this conversation. Because when it's all said and done, it's relevant. And it's a relevant conversation. Be blessed. Peace.